Hey, everybody, we're live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today my guest is Rise and Grind Picker Shane. How are you doing, man?
Hey, good man. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. Go ahead and introduce yourself just in case somebody doesn't know who you are.
So I go by the Rise and Grind Picker on YouTube, and
Yeah.
let me mute my. Hold on. Okay, and I've been reselling on eBay since 2006, and I've been selling on Amazon for a good about 8 9 years. And I just yeah, that's about it.
It's funny. I think it was on Primetime Treasure Hunters channel the other day, and they had Buffalo Picker on. They were interviewing him, and he looks at Buffalo Picker. He says, "Have you ever heard of Shane, the Rise and Grind Picker?" And he just laughed.
Yeah.
I was in the chat. I was laughing. I was like, "Yeah, I think we have." So, anyways, so go ahead, man. Go ahead. Tell everybody kind of like how was your day going. First of all, how is everything going for you?
Well, like I started out my day, like what I kind of did was I woke up at about 6:50 this morning and got everything shipped out by like 8:30. And then I already had a whole tote of stuff pictured, which was right here. That's the tote I'm listing on right now.
Right.
And basically, I've just been listing and trying to get as many listings up today as possible before the weekend, because usually the weekends are my biggest days. And yeah, it's about the gist of it. And I take my dogs out every morning, and then I take my Great Dane on a walk every day at like 11 o'clock. So.
All right. So talk to me about this video that you just put up the other day. It's like you got like $10,000 worth of merchandise. Break that down to our viewers so they know what we're talking about.
So I did a store buyout, and basically the store was going out of business. It was Stock and Field. It's kind of like a Rural King or a Big R, if you're familiar with that. And I spent it was actually over 10. So I spent about $12,000.
Yeah.
To buy the merchandise, and I probably got around 45,000 in retail.
Really? Was it all new at tags or no?
Yeah. So all new with tags. I did get a couple high-end like archery bows, like a crossbow and a compound bow that I got to work on a little bit. Some of it will be sent to an auction house to get consigned, and probably the crossbow and the compound bow will be going to the auction because they're about probably 400 to 500 a piece. So I'll probably get $1 there. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so I'm looking at probably making, 45,000 in retail. I would say 40 to 45, loosely, give or take a few thousand. I'll probably end up doubling my money up at 10 and making like 9 to 10,000. I might get lucky and make about 13 or 14, at the high end.
I was going to say like maybe around 15 or 20, but it's fine. If you double your money, that's still a good day. I wanted to say hello to Death Pile Destroyers is in the chat. I wanted to say hello to Jimmy from Old School Flips is in the chat. He says Shane with like 3 exclamation marks. So today I wanted to say hello to anybody that's in the chat that I missed. So today, Shane, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, because the title of the video is how you start with $20 to your name. If you're getting started and you're like, bro, I don't have, 10 grand to go buy merchandise. I've got $20 in my pocket and I want to grow and scale this business to the point where I can make, 50, 80, 100 grand a year in sales, where I can, go full time and support me and my family. So
Right.
kind of talk a little bit about how, because you were in a similar situation back in the day. So talk about how that came to be, and how not tell everybody what they need to do, but talk about what happened with you when you were in that situation and how you got started. Because originally this was just like your side gig. This wasn't like, hey, I plan on quitting my job in the future and I want to be a full-time reseller. It was like, hey, I can make some extra money on the side and grow this business. So first I wanted to say hello to Travis R. and Pika Resellers. So we're live, guys. If you have a question for our guests, drop it in the chat. So go ahead and kind of tell us how this came to be, how you went from working your corporate job to doing reselling on the side, and now it became your full-time gig. So talk a little bit about
that. First off, when I started reselling, it was just to pay off credit card debt. Me and my wife had gotten into a lot of credit card debt, and we were living really beyond our means. And that's what a lot of people do. I mean, I did it. A lot of people in the United States do it. And, you know, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal law and an
Yeah.
associate's degree in criminal justice and almost a master's degree in criminal law and criminal justice.
Right.
And I spent a few years in law enforcement and then got out of that and went over to retail and started out in asset protection for a couple companies and then moved up to corporate asset protection. I worked for companies like Target and, you know, some smaller Fortune 500 companies as district managers and stuff like that. And we just really bought a lot of, you know, we just lived beyond our means. So I was doing it to really pay off debt. And I had sold off and on, like in 2006. I had always off and on sold on eBay, but it was mainly like sports cards and stuff back in the day. You know what I mean? Like 2006-ish. And so I started, you know, about probably, I guess it's about 10 years ago now. 9 years ago, I started selling on eBay part-time. And I remember when I did it, me and my wife had sat down in the living room, and this is a conversation you never want to have. But I'm like, listen, we have over 20,000 in credit card debt. Every check that we have, we were basically getting paid, and we were paying bills, and we had nothing left. You know, and I come from a family that is very like medium income. When I was a kid, we were really poor. And, you know, we had car payments, we had whatever payment you could think of, we probably had it. And I said, I think I'm going to start selling on eBay part-time. And she looked at me like I was stupid. And I literally, I remember it. We sat down and I pulled up my bank account, my online banking, and I said, I have $20 in my savings account, and I'm going to start with that. And she laughed at me. She laughed. So I was bound and determined to do it. So how I started doing it was I just took the $20 and I started going to thrift stores. And I had always kind of sold. I didn't really know a lot about clothing, but I started selling clothing. Like the first day I walked into the thrift store, I started selling clothing because that was, you know, I looked around the thrift store and I said, well, there's more clothing than everything else. So I might as well try to start doing clothing because there's a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
So I started, you know, flipping vintage T-shirts and vintage clothing and vintage shoes. And, you know, I had a couple really good stores that helped me out a lot. Like one day I walked in the thrift store and I probably had built my account up to a couple $100. And I found a pair of shoes for like $3. I sold for like $260. And, you know, so I focused on a lot of like the crazy flips, but then I also focused on just normal stuff. You can make $10, $5, $8, whatever. And so I just did that over time. And then I have my account really built up, you know, to about $4 or $5 grand. And we were paying off some debt, but not a lot. And then I found Amazon and I smoked it on there. And I was able to walk into the bank and throw down 20 grand in cash to pay all of her credit card debt off. I literally paid our cars off in cash, like within probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
So we got out of that debt, and then I started hitting, you know, Amazon really, really hard. And this year's a little different because I actually have gotten away from Amazon. I'm doing merchant fulfilling on Amazon, but I'm not doing FBA. I'm doing more eBay than anything. So it's definitely, I'm probably not going to sell. Last year I was about 10 grand away from hitting 500,000 in sales last year.
500,000 last year, but that's between Amazon and eBay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So just give me one second, Shane. I wanted to say, because we're live, I want to say hello to Estena Nina is in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Flip the World is here. He says it's me, but with less hair. So I don't know if you guys follow Chris from Flip the World is here. Kina is in the chat. Says, how do you get reviews on eBay? I've sold 2 items, but have no reviews. If you're still in the chat, what you need to do is you need to buy something. So what you need to do is you can go online. I don't know if you know this or not, but you can get items really cheap. You can get like little sticky notes. You can get an ink pen, a pencil, stickers. You can get items really cheap from China for a quarter. 10 cents, 50 cents, $1. And what you need to do is buy something and try to get your feedback up over 100. That's because you don't want to deal with all the scammers and all the idiots. So try to get your feedback up to over 100. And just like I said, there's items that you can bid on in an auction. You can bid on envelopes for a penny. And then you'll get them with free shipping shipped to your door. And it's not even for the actual item. It's just so you can get your feedback built up. So I would do that. I wanted to say hello to Keith is in the chat. I wanted to say hello to Hollywood Reseller. He says, which one would you consider to be number one, eBay or Amazon? And it says, I need seller reviews. Yeah, you're going to get both. You're going to get buyer reviews and seller reviews as you sell. But I'm saying whenever you get buying something, it still counts as feedback. Your feedback score will still go up. We got Landshark Pickers in the chat. He says, who is this bald-headed rookie? Well, I just gave myself a haircut the other day. So if you're talking about Shane, this is Shane, the Rosin Grind Picker. So if you don't know, all his links are down below. So Hollywood Reseller, he wants to know which one is you consider to be the best. Which one do you like better, eBay or Amazon? And talk a little bit about that, Shane.
If you would have asked me a year ago, the answer would have been Amazon, but it's not today. And the reason that is I'm merchant fulfilling on Amazon, but you're going to see Amazon go through some crazy changes this year. And this was stuff I was saying a year ago, and people were like, you're crazy, you're crazy. And now Amazon has restricted topicals for all sellers. They've restricted supplements from all sellers unless you have a manufacturer's license to sell them. And they're trying to get a lot of the liabilities off of them. And you're also going to start seeing states, state by state. And I got this from a friend. This information was totally from a friend, and he's completely right. Like, they are currently doing it now, but you're going to start seeing states send out letters to Amazon sellers to get taxes on their stuff that's being stored in the warehouse. So you're going to see people literally think they have control of this FBA business, and they're going to get hit with a $50,000 tax liability or a $20,000 tax liability, and they're not going to have the money to back it up. And so last year, I took all of my FBA inventory and blew it out and completely liquidated it on Amazon. And I went to just merchant fulfilled only.
Yeah, I also heard that since there's so many lawsuits coming on Amazon, they may require sellers to start having like liability insurance as well. That's what I've been hearing. I'm not even on Amazon, guys. I'm just trying to grow my eBay store to 10,000 items. And when I talk to Shane, that's one of his goals as well. How many items do you currently have listed right now, Shane?
2,000
on eBay. 2,000. And so he would like to grow and expand his eBay store as well. I wanted to say hey to Baldy Pal Picking. He says, bold guys for the win. Landshark Picker says, I better go sub to him. I hear he's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, if you guys are watching the replay and you're not subscribed to Shane, his links are down below. Go subscribe to him. You might learn something. He does a lot of RA as well. You just did a big wholesale buyout. I wanted to say hello to Annie is in the chat. So I wanted to say hello to Annie. And says, I don't want anything to do with Amazon. Says Adam is here. And I think I missed a few people in the chat. We had a question in the chat up here I missed. I can find it. Give me 1 second.
I'm looking too.
Oh, here it is. Pika Reseller says, what is your favorite flip?
Man, that's a tough one. For eBay, my favorite all-time flip would be, so my favorite pick would be, I actually responded to a Facebook Marketplace ad and got to the house, and the dude was the head crew member of REO Speedwagon for 20 years. And he sold me like 155 1970s and 80s vintage concert tees and like boxes of memorabilia for like $1,500 or $1,400. So I've sold about halfway through it. I've probably already made like 10 or 13,000 off of that. So that's pretty good. Pretty good flip.
All right. We had a question from Hollywood Reseller. He says, what is your thoughts on Facebook Marketplace?
I really don't know. Because I haven't done it. I haven't used it. And I have a firm belief that you, as a seller, if you're going to be full-time, if you're working towards full-time, you need to pick 2 platforms and stick with them. Because here's what happens. a lot of resellers, they get you gotta really streamline things. And if you're on like Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and or Amazon, so I know some resellers that's on all 5 platforms, like what I just said. You are taking your inventory and you're just kind of like scattering it, or you're cross posting it, and the time it takes you to cross post all that stuff, you could have probably listed like 3 times the amount of listings on eBay. And so that's why I just stick with Amazon and eBay. And for a backup, I I I lightly sell on Walmart.com.
Awesome. I wanted to say hello to BK from the Rockies. Says, question for Jeff and his guests in the chat. Thank you for coming by today, BK. We appreciate you. Baldy Pal Pickin is in the chat. He says, I started Amazon in January, still stuck in the book category. Is there another category other than books I can source as a new Amazon seller? And I wanted to say hello to Shamrock Pixie is in the chat.
Baldy Pal, the best way to do it is just to go to Walmart and start scanning stuff and see what you're gated in and ungated in. That's really what I did. I just started hitting the pavement and scanning everything. And then whatever I was ungated in, I just started selling that too. And eventually it auto ungated me in a lot, pretty much everything. I can sell Reebok shoes. I can sell like London Fog. Like I can sell Sperry's on Amazon, like all sorts of different stuff.
Okay, cool. I wanted to say hello to the Bargain Effect just stopped by, and I wanted to say hey to Shamrock Pixie. So if you guys have other questions for our guests, drop it in the chat. I wanted to get back to Shane's story. So you had $20 to your name. You had $20,000 basically in credit card bills. You and your wife are arguing about finances. You're like, hey, I'm already working a full-time job. What we're doing here isn't working. We're hustling backwards. We're making money, but the money we have coming in just goes right back out the door to pay expenses. So you're like, hey, I've got $20 in this savings account. I'm going to go out here and hunt and look for merchandise to flip and sell on eBay. And kind of from that point, what were there shoes? Were there certain items that you were looking for? And what were like, were you watching YouTube videos, or what helped you like get started on selling on eBay? Like gave you the inspiration or gave you ideas, or were there somebody that you talked to bounce ideas off of, or how did that go from there, Shane?
When I first I was watching a little bit of YouTube videos, and to be honest with you, back then, no one really done YouTube videos. The YouTubers were literally like the Golden Finger Picker, Pete the Craigslist Hunter, and a couple other ones, and Nicole State. Like that was the only ones on YouTube. There was nobody doing videos. Like you have thousands of YouTubers now. Back then, there was like maybe 20 or 30, if that. And I already had a lot of knowledge about eBay because I had sold on it since 2006, kind of off and on, but it was a very casual selling. It wasn't like a business kind of selling. I just took it as like a casual kind of thing. So I just straight up hit the ground running, and a lot of the clothing I learned was from watching videos about clothing. And then I mainly looked for clothing, shoes, and high-end hard goods. That's what I looked for. And now, I mean, if you look at what I sell, it is everything. Like I'm listed gun stuff here, outdoor stuff, archery stuff. I have clothing back there I'm sending to my lister.
Right.
I'm in so many different categories on eBay. It's just crazy. I mean, I have, and I was going to say this, I have right now 2,042 active listings, but the quantity I have is 3,454, and it's like $95,000 worth of inventory listed. And that's just knocking it out and setting goals for yourself, I think.
Right. And so, talk a little bit about that. If somebody wanted to get started reselling, it's totally doable to do it part-time. I mean, I see people all the time. They'll go out on the weekends on a Saturday, Sunday, and hustle up and hit a couple yard sales, a couple thrift stores, and they'll get $1,000 worth of merchandise, get it listed, and then hustle and do it on the side. So would you have any advice or recommendations you would give somebody if they wanted to start out doing this part-time and make a few extra dollars and maybe pay off a car or get out of maybe student loans or credit card bills? Like, what would you tell them if they were in a similar situation that you were on?
So when you start this, your motivation has to be to pay that bill off. Like I had no motivation from anyone but the sheer fact of I wanted to better our lives, my family's life, my life, whatever. And I wanted to pay off those bills. That's the only motivation I needed. And you're going to have to find your own motivation. And I just kind of, along the way, since I started YouTube a few years ago, I met people and talked to people. And then, I've kind of like learned from a lot of people too, a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people that don't do YouTube, people that reached out to me. And, they may have made suggestions and I may have taken them or not taken them. And so that's kind of what you got to do, is you got to kind of find your own way to do it that's the best for you, but you got to have your own motivation. Like, it has to be within you. And if you want to do it part-time, like, just start out super simple. Just start out selling a few things around your house. And that's what I did. We had a bunch of, we had like 2,000 DVDs. I started taking out the box sets and putting them on eBay. My wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm selling some of the stuff around the house so I can like kind of jumpstart it a little bit. And then I started hitting thrift stores like on the weekend. If I didn't work, I'd go to a thrift store and look around and buy like maybe 15 or 20 items and get them listed throughout that week, and then just kind of repeat it. And then I was still, the first couple of years I started selling on Amazon, I was working a full-time job. And that's when I paid off a lot of my debt. And I went into Amazon and I would source after work and then build shipments till like 3 a.m. and then wake up for 7 a.m. for work again. So I did that for over a year and a half. I would only get 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night for over a year and a half. Every day I was sending shipments in. And, when I started at Amazon, I only had like $3,500. And I put it super hard, and every bit of profit I made, I paid bills off. I paid more bills off.
Right. So talk, Shane, how exactly do you go from kind of working your full-time job and doing it part-time? How did you transition into being a full-time reseller? Like, did you do it by choice, or there's a downsizing at work? Kind of walk us through how that happened.
So my last company I was working for was Target, and I was an executive over asset protection with Target. And I had been there for about 3.5 years, and I love Target. Like, I was going to probably just ride that out and try to retire from there eventually, or maybe a few more years. And they came to me one day and they said, we're eliminating your position. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, we're making it hourly and you're going to have to train your replacement. And I'm like, what? Okay. All right. Whatever. And they said, but you're going to keep your job and we're going to transfer you to wherever we want. So if we want to transfer you to North Dakota, you're going to North Dakota. And I'm like, I quit. I put my 2 weeks in and they said, nope, you don't have to work your 2 weeks out. We're just going to pay you for them. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. And I hated retail. I had been in retail management for 10 years in asset protection. And I was probably stupid for this, but I kind of wasn't. I had Save a Lot food stores. As soon as I had LinkedIn and everything, and I was doing everything I was supposed to do professionally, I had Save a Lot food stores reach out to me and they wanted me to apply for a job as a regional manager for Save a Lot food stores. And I said no. I turned it down. It probably would have started out at like 120,000 a year, and I turned it down. And I took a job working for a security guard company for like 5 months. Hated it. I was actually doing all the bookkeeping and all of the scheduling for like 450 officers. And I hated it. My phone rang. I never got sleep. I really couldn't resell much. And so I started kicking up my reselling, and I took a job selling copiers and printers, and I downgraded everything. The job I made 30 grand a year. That was it. And I just really hit reselling as hard as I could. And I was there for a year. I mean, I was there every day. I did what I was supposed to do. And the company got bought out, and I was doing well enough that, they laid off like half of the sales staff. And I just took the layoff and I just said, I'm done. And I just started reselling full time right after that. And I was just I wasn't really forced into it because I could have gotten a different job, but I just took the advantage of, okay, I'm doing well enough on Amazon and eBay. I just need to keep the momentum up. And if I have 24 hours a day to do that, I can do it. And now this is like almost 2 years full time. And last year I made more money than any job could have paid me. And you got to think, at Target I was making 85,000 a year, 80 to 85,000 a year.
Yeah, let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I wanted to say hello to Wendy is in the chat. She says, "Hey Jeff, Raza, Brian Picker, and friends." I wanted to say hello to Jen's Closet Jim. Says, "Yay to quitting a job you hate." Keena is in the chat. Says, "When I sell on eBay, should I give reviews or wait if a buyer gives reviews?" I would just go ahead and leave reviews for everybody. If you don't know, if you have an eBay store, you can actually get it set up to automate, so when someone buys an item from your store, you can have it set up where they'll just automatically leave feedback to the person that bought your item. So that way you're not spending a half hour,
Yep.
going back manually having to do that. You could do that. We have a question that says, how much profit should I shoot for? I think it really depends on what category you're in and what you're looking at. I can give you an example real quick. This, for example, I went and bought this at a pawn shop the other day. This is a Dragon Ball Z DVD. I paid 50 cents for this at a pawn shop, and I'll probably sell it for maybe $10, $11. So you can see, yeah, you can see your profit margin for an item that you paid 50 cents for. And if I sell it for $10, $11, you're still looking at about a 20x from the price that I paid for it to the price that it's going to sell for. So that way I got plenty of margin in there. But like I said, it just depends. Because if you go to a thrift store, you're probably not going to find shoes at a thrift store for 50 cents. They're going to be higher than that. It just depends on what you're looking to sell. We got BK from the Rockies is here. I wanted to say hey to BK. Baldy Pal Pickin has a question. He says, is it true that Amazon doesn't let you resell pre-owned electronics without a remote like VCRs? Do you have to have a remote with it, Shane? Do you know? I've heard that you did.
So back in the day when I first started, you did not have to, because people would make their own listings for without remotes. But anymore, if you sell it pre-owned, you need all components with it. That means like the power cord, the remote. You need all those components with it. Yeah.
All right. Keith is in the chat, said that's the way to do it. Enjoy what you're doing. We have a question in the chat. I hope I don't mispronounce your name. It's Avidor Silverman says, is it better to sell on Amazon or eBay? Which one is better?
I would say if you're just starting out, 100% eBay. If you're a new reseller, Amazon is not going to be for you yet. You're going to need to build up a little bit of like business acumen before you go over to Amazon.
Awesome. Travis says, I just sold a Dragon Ball Z VHS tape. I bought it at the Goodwill for 50 cents and sold for $12. That's awesome. See, I wanted to say hello to Annie, and Cajun Roots Reseller just stopped in and says, hello, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming by, Cajun. We appreciate you. So kind of, we want to get back to what was happening here with you, Shane. So you got to the point, they told you that they were downsizing, you were going to be laid off. They were saying, we can relocate you to North Dakota, out in the middle of nowhere, and you're just like not in a position where you want you and your wife and your family to pack up and move and cross country because they were downsizing. So from that point, you were kind of like already had in your mind that you were ready to go full time as a reseller, right?
Well, yeah, and we had already we had bought our house like so when I was with Target and they eliminated my position at Target, we had bought our house 6 months before that. So it was like, oh, this is scary. So I took a job I hated with a security guard company, and I gave my 2 weeks and quit that. And then I went to sell copiers, and I was there for about a year and a half. And then, they got bought out by Xerox. And what kind of happened was they're like, we don't need all these salespeople. We have corporate Xerox people. And they laid off like half the sales force. Well, I was in technically an underperforming region because they gave me a region with 0 customers. Like I had no customers, and everybody else, like when they came into the company, they got regions with like hundreds of customers. I had 0 customers, and I built a customer base of about 400% in that year, about 400% increase. But it just they had to get rid of people, and it was me and a bunch of other people that left. And that was when I I'm like, I'm only making 30 grand and I can live off that. I can do this reselling thing. Like When I was at Target making 85,000, I was like, it's hard to make 85,000. That's tough. And I was like scared. But then last year I made over that. So, it's really how you kind of look at things. If you're not making the money you want to make off reselling, there's one solution: list more. Either buy better or list more.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you about that. So, like, if somebody is in a situation and maybe they're like, "Hey, I'm making $1,000, $2,000 a month, maybe doing it on the side reselling, but they want to grow their business to the point where they can make 8 or 10 grand a month or whatever in sales." How would they go about doing that? Would they just because a lot of people say they need to go sourcing more, but like I could go sourcing all day long. If I go sourcing all day long and the stuff sits in my trunk or in my closet into the death pile, but it doesn't get listed, then it's like you're back to square one. I mean, I can list from home and order a big bulk shipment of 500 or 1,000 items, have it shipped to my door. I focus a lot of my energy on just getting items listed, and then just through sheer force of just having a amount of items listed on your store, things are going to sell, right? What would you recommend? Give me like your top 3 tips that you would recommend to somebody, Shane.
Probably my top 3 tips on are you asking like on how to source products necessarily?
Well, it could be source products, but like maybe to grow your business.
Definitely volume. Probably my first tip would be definitely you need to buy more. And then the second, you definitely need to list more. And, if you want to sell a higher price, you need to either look at, doing a lot of volume or getting your ASP, your average sell price up more. Right now, my average sell price, it was probably last month around $40, and it's down a little bit because I have a lot of, like 10 to 12 to $15 items, but I'm fine with that because if I can sell 20 $10 items in a day, I mean, hey, I will take, whatever I can get. And right now on eBay, I'm averaging right now anywhere from about 350 to 600 in sales a day. And I would really like to close the gap and start averaging like 650 to 800 a day. And so the only way I can do that is just hitting listing very hard.
Yeah, I think that's my issue that I've had lately is I've come to the realization, like if you want your eBay or your reselling store to take off, like you have to put more money into it. Like I can't take the same $1,000 every month and throw the same $1,000 at it, buying the same merchandise over and over again. Say, oh, I threw $1,000 at it and I'm only getting this much sales. Like you just come to the realization you're just gonna have to spend more money to buy more merchandise. Doesn't mean to just go wilding out and buy everything you see, but you're gonna have to get to a certain point where you're like, okay, instead of me spending 500 or 1,000, maybe I might have to spend 2,000 this month on buying merchandise because you want to grow your store. And if every month you're still spending the same $500 every month, you're going to come back again the first of the month to be in the same situation you were before. So let me say hello to a few people here in the chat. I wanted to say hello to Nick's Picks. Says don't get discouraged if you get returns. Well, that's just part of it. I had a return today. I sent this guy a VHS tape that was new in the shrink wrap. He said it didn't work, and I said, well, just send it back to me. I'm not going to argue with you about a VHS tape. I wanted to say hello to Buffalo Picker is in the chat. I saw your live stream with Primetime the other day, so you did good, and I'm going to catch you out. Check Buffalo Picker out on Friday. I think he has Cali Reseller Louise on Friday. I wanted to say hello to Annie. Aces is in the chat. And I don't think I missed anybody. Let me scroll up a little bit. Oh, Bourbon City Picker is here. He says list, and list more. And Travis R says that's a lot of money, $85,000 a year at Target. And I wanted to say hey to Jen's Closet Gems, and Annie is in the chat. So says I don't accept returns on eBay because I'm afraid of scammers. Well, they can still return the item whether you agree with it or not. It's just part of the thing. eBay's still going to give them a window for returns. Shane, are you there? I thought you froze for a second.
Yep, still here.
All right, so you do a lot of sourcing still. Do you do a lot of RA? Could you talk to me a little bit about that? When let's say, because I do some RAs. Occasionally, I will go to Walmart and go to the clearance section, or I go to the Dollar Tree a lot and look around. But what would you say if I'm with you and we're tagging along and we're doing a little bit of retail arbitrage? What is it specifically that you look for? Because I mean, I've seen you sell all kind of stuff, lotions, perfume, stuff that I would never pick up. So talk to us about that. Like if someone was like a bird on your shoulder and they're going with you to do some RA for reselling, what would you recommend? Like, where would you start? What would you look for?
For new sellers, like when I first started, I looked for items I could buy for like $1, $2, $3, $4 that would sell for 50% margins plus on Amazon. And that's kind of like when I go to a Walmart, I kind of go through the clearance aisle first, and I walk through the clearance aisle. Then I walk through like the full price stuff and look for full price stuff, because I do flip stuff full price off the shelf for 30 to 40 to 50% margins on Amazon. And then I look at electronics and other stuff like that. But now that I've kind of revamped my strategy on Amazon, because I'm telling you, there are going to be a lot of Amazon sellers that either file bankruptcy or get burned very bad over this tax stuff. And the reason I diminished my FBA business and just started merchant fulfilling was because of that. And I kind of foresee that in Pennsylvania and like a couple other states have already sent letters. And I wouldn't have known as much about that, but I have a really good friend of mine, and he was like, you should take a look at this stuff. And I'm like, and he doesn't do YouTube, he doesn't do anything. He's a huge Amazon seller, but doesn't do any of that stuff. And so I started looking at it, and I'm like, oh man, this is real. And I kind of just got completely out of FBA. Because I did not want the tax burden, and I'm going to feel bad for people that do have that tax burden. And some people can handle it better. Like if you have an accountant, you're going to have to file in every state to submit taxes for products stored in the warehouse. So that's the one thing. And I started merchant fulfilling, but merchant fulfilling still isn't great for every seller, because it's only good for me because I'm ungated in pretty much a lot of stuff on Amazon. Like I don't come across a lot of things I'm gated in. So it's a little bit better for me with that respect, but merchant fulfilling is a totally different beast. Like you got to store it, and then you have to have clean boxes. Like you can't just go grab an Amazon or a Chewy box and shove it in there and ship it. You got to have a clean box, clean packing paper. You got to have all of that stuff. And so you got to be very professional about the merchant fulfilling. And now for merchant fulfilling, it's a little different for me. Like I look for high margins, like over 50% or 50% plus. And so, I walked in Walgreens, and this is an example. I walked in Walgreens the other night and was scanning stuff and found an action figure that sells for it. You buy it for $19 and it sells for $85. Well, I merchant fulfilled it. So, there's stuff out there like that is high margins, and that's kind of what I focus on now. Before, if it was getting me 20, 30, 40%, I would sell it. But I also sold a lot of stuff on Amazon that was 50 to 80% margins or 100% margins. But, when I did FBA, I didn't care about any of that stuff. But, when you start realizing like, hey, FBA is shutting, they're shutting areas down in FBA that FBA sellers can sell because of liability. There's been talks about them shutting toys down. Like they're actually getting actively sued. 2 weeks ago, there was a toddler that died from a toy on Amazon, and they're actively getting sued from that. And I have seller's insurance for eBay and Amazon, and it's by the Hartford, and they cover me up to $3.5 million. But when Amazon does that stuff, and when they get sued from a toy on Amazon, it is only a matter of time before they try to decrease their liability in that platform.
Right. Awesome. So, Shane, I wanted to kind of switch gears. What's been new with you lately? Last time we talked, last time I had you on the show was like 5-6 months ago, and you were talking about possibly getting like a warehouse. So is that still in the pipeline for you? Are you still looking at a warehouse? You said you did hire an eBay lister, right? So kind of walk me through what's been going on with you lately in your world.
Well, I have a lister that lists a lot of my clothing and stuff, and that's not really new, but probably 6 months new. And I'm still looking to get a warehouse, but I have my eye on a building. I live in a super small town. Like we're talking like 2,500 people. And there's a big 10,000 square foot building for sale down the street. It's
Right.
bank owned. It's bank owned, and the problem is it's the loan that they foreclosed on was higher than what the property's worth, so they're just holding it right now. So for me, it's about waiting it out. Eventually, after so many years, the bank has to sell it. So, after so many years, they're probably going to put it up on auction, and then I'll just go bid on it. I offered them a cash offer of $30,000, and they declined it. So, at this point, it's just waiting and seeing what's going to open up. And if that building opens up, I'm 100% getting it. It's like a little over 10,000 square feet. And I will be able to like massively grow my merchant fulfilled business on Amazon, as well as massively grow, because I'm running out of room right now. Like you can see, like all this stuff here, it's all listed. That is all inventory.
That looks like my room, Shane.
All this stuff, it's all listed inventory up to the ceiling. Like I'm running out of room. So
right. So I wanted to ask you a question. How is that setup working for you with having an eBay lister? Do they come in part-time? Like, do they come in a couple days a week? Do you like drop the merchandise off at their house and they list it? Or they come to you? Like, how does that work?
No, so she lives in another state, and I just take the pictures and she lists them and drafts them, and I just launch them live and pay her out. And it's worked great. And I've known her for probably 3 or 4 years, and she was listing for me before I went to Amazon. And I trained her on everything and how I wanted it. And then when I got out of Amazon, I texted her and I said, "Hey, you still want to list?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so we started it right back where we left off. And, I'm thankful that she let me do that, because most people would have gotten mad. But when I went to Amazon, I told her, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going really heavy into Amazon. Like, I'm probably not going to do much on eBay." And I think when I was like really hitting Amazon hard, I only had like 300 eBay listings. So, when you're doing that kind of volume on Amazon, like I sold last year, it was over 17,000 units on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing that kind of volume, you don't have time to do anything else but source and ship. Like that's all you have time to do.
Well, the reason I was asking is, like, do you pay your eBay lister? Do they get paid hourly, or do they get paid for piecework? I'm just asking in case somebody else in the chat is considering hiring an eBay lister. That's why I'm asking.
So I pay her hourly. Basically, with her, I pay her 50 cents a listing if it's $16.99 or below. And I try not to send her any of that stuff. And I pay her $17 to $25.99 for $1.50. And 26 and up, I pay her $2 a listing. And I mean, there's days where she makes over $100 listing for me, like over $100 in one day, And so if I paid her hourly, she'd probably make less money doing it that way than she would actually per listing. So she makes more money that way. And, I'm fine with that. And, she kind of does some light listing for some other people. And, I think I'm pretty much her main client. So, I just write it down on my taxes as a service because she's offering a service. She kind of has a service of her own. And, and that's just how it is. But yeah, I recommend it, like for clothing, especially because I hate listing clothing on eBay because of all the item specifics. And so she does all those item specifics for me. I just give her the pictures. That's it. And the measurements. But I just take a picture of the measurement in the listing and she just adds them in. So
Shane, we talked earlier about having goals. What are some of the goals that you have for yourself, like for the rest of this year and for next year? Is there any other goals or projects or anything else that you're working on? I know you're doing reselling. You recently just started, you did your fishing thing. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So
and then you want to talk about your YouTube channel? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually fished the part of the Toyota series in Major League Fishing, which is like professional fishing, as a co-angler, as an amateur. And I didn't make the last cut, but I was 60. I was like, right now my standing is 65th out of 200 in like some people. So I did okay. I didn't cash a check, but I did okay for my first set of tournaments. So I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens. Probably the next series that they have, I'm going to fish the next series, and got some, got a lot of good knowledge and stuff like that. And then I'm just going to keep, doing some reselling videos and putting out information, maybe, some RA videos and whatnot. Keep kind of doing my YouTube thing, because that's the one thing that, I kind of had to, a couple weeks ago, I had to kind of sit back and reflect. And I'm like, which way, like, what do I want to do in life? And I'm like, well, I like doing YouTube. And, I decided, like, I just need to start putting out more reselling videos. And I started like a fishing YouTube. And I'm still going to put some videos out for that channel as well. So I'm going to kind of manage 2 channels. And then I still have to make time to try to list 40 to 60 items a day. That's my goal, 40 to 60 items every day. So if I can get out more than that, great. If I get 42, what I've been trying to do is really get myself on a schedule. And there's a lot of resellers out there that's like, oh no, we did this for a reason. We don't want to schedule. That's the worst thing ever you could do. As soon as I put myself on a schedule, I was way more productive than I ever have been. And I'm a morning person, so I wake up at 7. I go to bed at 11. And I work, a lot of the times I try to work till about 4:30, 5:30, and then I quit and spend time with my family. And if they go to bed early, then I come down here and work for a few hours and then go to bed at 11 o'clock.
All right. So can you talk a little bit about what it is like for you growing a YouTube channel? Because there's a lot of people that maybe they start a YouTube channel and then they think, oh, I'm going to do great. And then 2 months later, 60 days later, I don't want to say they give up, but it's kind of like you lose momentum. And I'm just asking because you have like 33,000 subscribers now. But yeah. I tell everybody starts at 0. Whether you're reselling on eBay or Amazon or you're starting a YouTube channel, everybody starts at 0 items listed, 0 subscribers. So what advice would you give to somebody if they want to start a YouTube channel and reselling or just any niche or any category, but they're maybe just not getting enough traction? Would you have any suggestions or recommendations to them?
Yeah. So, this is going to sound pretty harsh, and I'm not trying to sound that way. I promise. Like, I'm trying to be nice about it, but with YouTube, it's totally different with how it is now and when I started. Like in reselling, like let's take this for instance. When I started YouTube and reselling, no one was doing videos, like maybe 20 some people. So the traction would be like crazy high for videos if you put them out. Like, as a YouTuber back in the day, like I had 0 subs and I was getting 400 or 500 views on some videos. And now it seems like every reseller has a YouTube channel. And so what happens is you put out thousands upon thousands of hours a week out into the hemisphere, and people, they only have so much time to consume content. That's just the bottom line. I'll be really honest, I don't even watch reselling content. I watch like when I can catch Jeff online, I will watch Jeff. I watch maybe a couple other YouTubers, but that's it. Like I don't watch reselling content mainly. And so you got to understand, like if people are really actually listing and reselling, they're not going to watch much content. And so you got to really target those videos to people that don't resell to get views. And that's the main issue right now is there's just so many people who have a reselling channel. It seems like, I went viral on a video and I went from 800 subs to 6,000, like basically overnight. And then all of a sudden it was like this traction like crazy. And it seemed like after my channel blew up, a couple other people's in the community, a couple other people's channels blew up too. And then you had just everybody creating videos. But, I would say if you don't get any traction in reselling, like if you're doing videos for like a year, maybe 2 years, and you literally have not gained, if you're not monetized or haven't gained any subs, think outside the box and think, okay, what niche can I go into on YouTube that I like? What's my passion? There's a dude on YouTube that eats old MRE meals, like military meals, and he has like 800,000 subs. There's so many different things that you can do on YouTube. It doesn't have to be reselling. And like my outdoor channel, I'm doing like fishing and stuff like that. Totally different. But the growth I've seen on my outdoor channel is 18 times more. Like my second video was 0 subs. I had a 4,000 view video. Because not many people in that niche is doing actual content.
Right. Well, there's so many different categories. I mean, if you look, there are people that some make categories just playing video games, and they have a whole YouTube channel, a video game channel. And like I said, everybody just starts at 0. I think when I started, I mean, I was at 0, and I think it took me 9 or 10 months just to go from the grind to 0 to 1,000 subscribers and to get your watch time hours in to get monetized. And even when you get monetized, it's not like you reach the finish line. There's still a balance, because there's some times where it's like, man, I want to put out 4 or 5 videos a week, but then it's like, I need to be listing items and working on my business too. So if you're putting out 5, 6, 7 videos a week, how much time are you actually committing to doing your job as a reseller? Because there's only so many hours in a day. Go ahead.
So I want to point this out real quick. Nick's Picks is one of my really good buddies, Todd. He lives down the street from me. Yeah. And I have basically taught him like everything I know. Like I've told him stuff and he's done it. And you know, he was reselling by himself and found me on YouTube and lived down the street from me. And we became friends. And so like we've had coffee together. He comes down to my house and we drink coffee and stuff like that. But what he said in the chat was totally right, is there's a ton of creators that aren't really selling. And back then when I was doing it, there were a bunch of creators that like weren't really selling and just doing YouTube videos.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's for me, like if I get into my zone and I'm trying to crank out 100 listings, I can't be like, all right, hit pause. We have to go shoot a YouTube video. You know, it's kind of like you got to kind of find a balance there, because it's some of you people think, well, if once I get to 1,000 subscribers and I get monetized, like boom, that's the finish line. I'm like, no, bro, like you're just getting started. You still have to hustle. You still got to put the work in. So,
right. And
it's
any more YouTube for me is more like it's fun. I'm not gonna lie. I have made money off YouTube. Like back in when I took my channel seriously, I was making anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 a month on YouTube. And
just in ad revenue.
Just in ad revenue.
Yeah.
That wasn't even including in the brand deals I got and the brands that reached out and paid me for content. So you got to understand there's big money in this, but when you do that, you don't have time to sell. Now I'm crazy. So when I was doing that, I was staying up till 4 a.m. shipping shipments and then filming a video every day and then working a job. So I was like literally getting no sleep, but I was doing it because I'm not going to do YouTube if I'm not selling, I'm not going to do YouTube. If I don't have a business, I'm not going to do YouTube, because at this point, whatever stuff I put out, it is not going to help you. It is just going to be entertainment. And I started this channel to help people. That's why I started it. So I kind of got to stay true to myself and my roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is important is your health. You got to get, to me, if I don't get like, 8 hours sleep, I don't get like a nice hot shower, I don't get like, a nice warm meal, I'm not going to function. I don't want to be like a zombie, so you have to kind of that's got to be a priority as well. So Shane, we've had you on the live stream, bro, for 50 minutes, man. Can you give us any other tips or tricks or advice for people? Because my thing is, guys, if you're on YouTube, the thing is you just need to be consistent. Like if you do videos, put out 3 videos a week and try to collaborate. Like right now I'm hanging out with Shane. Try to collaborate with other YouTubers that's in your niche and just kind of keep working at it. Give yourself a goal, Like my goal when I first started was I wasn't even worried about being monetized. I just said I want to get to 1,000 subscribers, but come hell or high water by the end of the year, I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So when you put that down, when you actually write that down and say, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, you can make that happen. But just be single-minded and say, this is it. I'm not worried about, I'm not trying to get 10,000. I'm not trying to get 50,000. I just want to hit 1K. So can you talk a little bit about that, Shane, or talk about maybe having goal settings? Because I feel like we're both like-minded in that nature. Like we both have this is my goal and I must get to this goal no matter what. Like I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. For me, it's the mentality you have. Whatever you do, no matter what, like Jeff explained it very well. No matter what you do, it's the mentality. And the mentality I have, it's a lot different than most people. It's kind of like the get rich or die trying model is what I call it, because I'm gonna list and work so much that I'm gonna literally not sleep. Like there's days I didn't like I go all morning, I smash a protein shake at 7:30 in the morning, and then I look down at my phone and it's 5:30 in the afternoon, I haven't eaten. Like that's the kind of stuff I do. And I don't say, hey, do that. You shouldn't do that. That's unhealthy. But you gotta have that mentality and the drive. And if you have that mentality where you're going to do anything at any cost, I think you can be successful in just about anything.
Yeah, for sure, guys. It's just one of them things where you just have to put your mind to it. And one thing I want to talk about before we let you go, Shane, is it's a different mindset, totally different of you working a corporate job, of having a 9 to 5 job, being an employee versus being self-employed. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's like you're talking earlier about having to give yourself kind of a schedule, like a routine that you do every day. Because when you're out and about and you're an employee, you know, hey, I have to be clocked in at 9 o'clock. I'm taking my lunch break at noon. I clock out at 5. Everything, your day is structured for you. But when you wake up and you're self-employed, it's like you have to get yourself motivated to get moving.
Yeah.
If you're not self-motivated, it's like you're going to drown out here. So you want to talk a little bit about that, how that's been for you from working a corporate job to having a set schedule, having a boss, having a time clock, to now being self-employed. How are you able to make that transition? So you talked a little bit about a schedule. Can you talk a little bit about that, Shane?
I keep it the same. I have this phone and it has Google Calendars in it, and I schedule everything on there. Jeff can ask you anytime anyone has reached out to me, hey, do you want to collab and do a video? Absolutely. I don't turn really anybody down unless I just know, like if I know they're not legit, then I'm like, no thanks. But Jeff has reached out to me, and like every time I'm like, yep, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And I forgot 2 times to schedule it in my calendar and totally forgot. And so that calendar on your phone is my most important thing. Like I told Jeff last night, I said I'm scheduling it on my calendar, and then I got an alarm an hour before, and then I'm like, in 1 hour I have to be there. I treat everything like that.
Right.
If I'm gonna block out time to list, I schedule it on my calendar, and I block out the 8 hours to list. In between those 8 hours, I might take a couple 10-minute breaks, but I am not stopping to watch TV, and I take TV out of the equation. I just don't watch it like during the day. I treat it like kind of like a 9 to 5 job. And I think in order to be successful at this, you got to treat it like a job. Make yourself accountable. Make yourself do the work. Because I mean, let's face it, if you're listing 5 items a day, that's not going to cut it. But if you're full-time, part-time, 100%, you can get by with that and you're fine. But if you're full-time, you really have to grind it out. And I keep myself accountable. If I take a day off, I know I have to come back the next day, and I need to get sleep, and I need to be well rested because I'm going to have to hit it hard.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. There's so many people in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to keep up with the chat, but I just wanted to appreciate everybody for coming out. I wanted to say hello to Jennifer Hayes. We got Energy for Sale. Keena was in the chat. Farm Girl Scavenger. Hello. Thank you for coming by. Annie was here. Shamrock. Pixie was in the chat today. Said hello to Farm Girl Scavenger. Joe B is here. He says everybody's a guru now. We got Nick's Picks is in the chat. Joe B is in here. He says you got to put the hours in to succeed. So if I didn't catch you guys in the chat, the Flippin' Sports guy is here. I didn't miss you on purpose. We just had a ton of people in the chat today. So Shane, before we let you go, man, give me your final thoughts, and then we'll get you out of here because I know you got to get time to getting back to listening and spending time with your family. First of all, tell everybody where they can find you at on YouTube and Instagram. They want to come by and check you out.
YouTube and Instagram, Rise and Grind Picker. Just type in Rise and then Grind Picker. And then I have, like I said, just Insta and YouTube. I don't really have a TikTok. I have a fishing channel, the fish or outdoor channel. I'm gonna also do probably some metal detecting on that, but that is Reel It In Outdoors. And then other than that, last thoughts. You yourself can only do what you allow yourself to do. So if you don't set yourself up for success, you're not going to be successful. And like literally, Destiny, definitely. Tommy and you do. Yeah, he needs to come down and go fishing with me for sure. Tell him to hit me up sometime this summer. So that's the Shamrock Pixie and Tommy. They're up in Wisconsin, and me and him are going to go fishing sometime this summer. So we're going to set that up. But yeah,
right,
you got. I mean, my motto is like work hard, play hard. I work my butt off, but then I travel. I went to Oklahoma, to Missouri, Arkansas, and fish and do fishing tournaments. You just gotta kind of reward yourself,
Yeah, that's definitely true. You want to kind of have a light at the end of the tunnel. You won't want to say, "Hey, I've got 100 items listed today," and now it's like, "What's my reward for all this work that I did?"
Yeah.
So for sure. Anyways, thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out today. Go follow Shane, Rise and Grind Picker. His links are down below in the description below, and we'll see you next time. I might have a guest on tomorrow on Saturday. So if I have a guest on tomorrow, I'll see you then. But everybody have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.